Hello everybody, this is Russ Bucher with ControlMyJoystick. Let's take a look at how we send text over to your game via the TetherScript virtual keyboard driver. Now this is different than using the digital joystick emulation mode, which we've covered in a different video, but this is really just, you trigger a macro which has script commands which sends text. Now I'm just going to demonstrate this macro, then we're going to see how we do it. I just created a new profile, called it A, added one macro called test, added a trigger, which is just a button on my DXware controller. Now here in the script, we're going to have it bring up Notepad. And you can see here I've enabled my profile targets and I've set the target to be Notepad. So when the script runs, it needs to know where to send this text, and it's going to send it to Notepad. So here we go. It's going to say, hello there, this is a test. It's going to pause for 4 seconds, and then it's going to delete that text from Notepad by basically doing a Control-A and then a backspace. It's going to pause a second, and then it's going to launch Windows Calculator. And there we have the calculator. So it is able to launch anything here. So be careful using third-party scripts. Make sure they're not doing anything too nefarious, because you can really do anything as if you typed it in the keyboard yourself. Okay, so let's see what we did. The first command here is send text via driver. Hello there, this is a test. Down delay 20 milliseconds, enter key delay 50 milliseconds. So that is this command right here, keyboard driver. So you can add a command, or if you double click on it, you can edit, and let's see what I have. So I've basically typed in the text, and I have it set here that the down delay is 20 milliseconds. That means that when each one of these letters is sent, it's going to simulate pressing a button on a keyboard. And this is going to go through the TetherScript virtual keyboard driver. So it's going to hold the button down 20 milliseconds for each one of those characters. And then it's going to wait 50 milliseconds in between each character. So if I run this, you can just kind of see how fast it runs. And I'm just going to disable several of these. Okay. So we'll let it run and just watch how fast the text goes. About that fast. Or it's exactly that fast. Okay, now bring up the editor. If I was to say, put the enter key delay only 20 milliseconds, well, it's going to output the text a lot faster. So I'll run it again. And there we can see it's faster. Now, the reason we have this is because games respond differently with how fast you do input. So some games may need to see that you hold down a button for maybe 50 milliseconds. And with an enter key delay of 100 milliseconds. So we had defaults here of 20 and 50, which work for most games. But if you find that your game is just not properly receiving your keystrokes, experiment with these values here and to get it working. So that's pretty basic. If you can just set it right here and hit the test button, and you don't have to run the entire macro, it's just going to send this information through the TetherScript virtual keyboard driver to whatever you have targeted here and your profile target. So let's take a look at these other commands. So we had sent text, and then we had deleted the text. Let's look at this delete command. Now this one's a little bit different. It's basically saying that we want to put the left control button down. Think of this doing this on your keyboard. We want to go Control-A to select all the text, then delete. So you go left control button down, then the A button down, then the A button up, then the left control button up. Just kind of think of how you do that physically and how you release those keys on the keyboard. Then we press the delete key with just a down-up motion, and that deletes it. Now, how did we set this up? Well, what you do is you just go down here and find what you like. So you select it. So I want a left control, and then you want it down. So this will put it in here for you and get ready for the next one. So I want a left control down, and then an A down. and then an A up, and then left control up. Then I want a delete down up. And where is my delete? There it is. Delete down up. And let's run this. So I'll just run it. It's going to wait 4 seconds, and then it's going to run that. It basically did a Control A and the delete key. Now this can be tricky. The biggest problem you can run into here is, let's say you do an A down but didn't do an A up. When you do an A down or any key down, the TetherScript virtual keyboard driver simulates a real physical keyboard. It's as if you left your finger on the A key, holding it down, and never released it. So you're going to have a continuous stream of A's going into your notepad, ControlMyJoystick, your web browser, whatever, because it hasn't been released. Now, the only way to get out of that is to press the physical A key on the keyboard and kind of repeatedly to tell it kind of reset itself, or shut down ControlMyJoystick. It'll continue to repeat for about 5 seconds after, and then it'll stop, because the virtual keyboard driver will realize that ControlMyJoystick's no longer there, and it will stop spamming that letter. So it's very important you look at this and make sure you have a corresponding one. And it could be that you want to hold one down and maybe have a delay or do something else, and then have a subsequent script command that releases it with the up, the corresponding up. So you just have to be careful when you do it. And, I find that when I learned how to do this, I got really good with Alt-Tab and Alt-F4 for shutting down ControlMyJoystick. And then after a while, you just learn, make sure you have the corresponding ups to your downs. Let's see what else we can do here. Now, I had a pause for 1,000 milliseconds. And let me just disable these since we don't need them anymore. Okay, this one is launching Windows Calculator. So left Windows key down, and then R, which is the same as going Windows key R, which brings up the command, not a command prompt, but a way for you to run things within Windows. It's equivalent of doing this. Then we let that key up. And you see, when we just have this R here, it does the down up for us. So we didn't have to specify down or up. Just like when we wrote in the text, hello there, this is a test. We didn't have to put all these down ups for that. If it sees it without those down up qualifiers, it just sends it with its own built-in down ups. Left one down, R, left one up, and then delay a little bit to let that little dialog come up. Then we use a backspace down up, type in calc exe, and then enter down up. So it's as if we typed it in ourselves. So let's test it. Now you could see it brought up Notepad because we still have it set as a target. A profile target is still required. But if you were to just enable it, but leave the profile target empty, let's see what happens. So it didn't do anything there because it's not enabled. And let's set it to something else. And then run it. And it brings it up. So it's possible that you could set up ControlMyJoystick to use the buttons on your controller to bring up or do a variety of things within Windows. and as well as your games. Now there's some other special things that we can do here. So I'm going to add another one. Maybe disable this one. Add another. And we have these things called specials here. That's where I got the one for running calculator out of. It's one of these, except it was for Notepad, but I made a calculator instead. Right here. Now you can also put in delays. So instead of maybe doing one set of text on one script command, then having a script command delay, and then sending more text in an additional one, you can do this instead. So I could type in test 1, put in a delay of 2000, test 2. I think we'll like this and bring up Notepad again. And let's test it. There's my delay. There's a second part. So you can put whatever value in milliseconds you like for this delay. Now, normally you have a target for your profile, and I've set it to Notepad Untitled, but you can also force your own target for this particular execution of this script command. So for example, if I wanted to normally have it to Notepad, that's fine. You keep it down here. But if you wanted this particular one to maybe type in some digits in the calculator, you could set it here. So it just gives you a little bit more flexibility in that you just can't target only one, or I should say that you can target a single application for your output, but you can, if you need to, target multiple applications by use of this in your script commands. So there's some examples here. You can use these just to get to know this application. So here's one that does a delay like we did a little bit earlier. It's going to hold down the W button for 2000 milliseconds and then release it. And that's what you saw. There's even one that says, don't do this. This is the one where it just leaves it down, but then doesn't do anything, and then it leaves you with a stuck D key. So the point is, make sure you have a corresponding up. That's how you send text through the TetherScript virtual keyboard driver. Have fun.